Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be recapping the Orioles and Rangers Game 2 of this three-game series. The Orioles won yesterday's game in a hard-fought, thrilling 10-6 victory in extra innings over the Rangers yesterday to go up 1-0 in this series. And today, unfortunately, like we've seen a lot of times this season with the Orioles, after a great win, the next day they go out there and absolutely lay an egg. The Orioles go out here today and don't really do much of anything. Gary Sanchez was responsible for all of the runs the Orioles scored today, which was 2, and the Orioles unfortunately gave up 10 runs in this game. They lost this game 10-2. The series is tied up 1-1, and they'll go into a rubber match game tomorrow. And this looks very oddly familiar to a lot of series that's gone on this year for the Orioles, where they've won the first game and obviously eventually lost the rubber match. But this feels very familiar to last week's series against the Rangers, where the Orioles win the first game and then lose the next two, and all of a sudden they lose the series. So, tomorrow is the winner, the winner takes all series. If the Orioles can win tomorrow, they take the series 2-1, and if the Rangers win, then the Orioles will lose the series 2-1. So, again, as I've said thousands of times before on the show, this series is a must-win series. They have to go out there and win tomorrow, because every single series that they lose, and really every game that they lose at this point as it stands right now, especially now that we're in July, happy July to everyone, by the way. Now that we're in a new month of July, the Orioles, a lot of times when you scale baseball teams, you kind of talk about the record over a month. And the Orioles' record in June was 16-11. So a very solid month for the Orioles, by far their best month of the season. Every other month before that, they were negative, and they go 16-11 last month, solid month, but they still have a lot of work to do, and they're going to need an even better July to really cut down the deficit by the trade deadline, and we'll see what happens when we get to that point. But the Orioles start off the month of July with a loss. Again, they lose this game 10-2. The Orioles are back to being 11 games below 500. They've been teetering around that 10, 11, 12, 9 games below 500 area, and they just cannot really make any sort of significant progress. They're kind of at a plateau right now where they're not really going on a run. It's kind of like a 5-5 over the last 10 games type of vibe. They really, they made progress. When they were 16, 17, 18 games below 500 late 2 months ago, when they were like 17 games below 500, they made progress and moved that all the way down to 9, 10, 11 games below 500, and they've kind of just been sitting here for a couple of weeks now, not really moving or making any sort of progress. And this is the time of the season right now, and with the trade deadline coming up in a month, and with or coming up later this month, and with the All-Star break happening in a couple of weeks, this is the time of the season where you really need to have your foot on the gas and go out there and win games no matter what. And unfortunately, the Orioles have just gone through a lot of different rough scenarios, whether that's the starting pitching making games unwinnable for the Orioles, or whether that's the team just absolutely collapsing and everyone ending up in a hospital and everyone just being injured all the time, like they currently are right now. Obviously, there are 3 catchers on the IL right now for the Orioles. Obviously, Zach Eflin's there. You have Adley Rutschman there. Tyler O'Neill is still out. So still a lot of key injuries that are out for the Orioles. They were healthy for a couple of weeks. They were doing their thing, and then now all of a sudden we're back being plagued by injuries. And a lot of the times you can't really say that's an excuse, because it happens to a lot of teams. But this Orioles team has really been battered by injuries. This is, I think, when we put Chadwick Tromp on the IL today, I think that was the 24th player that has now spent time on IL for the Orioles, and we just hit July, by the way. There's still all of July, all of August, and all of September left of the regular season baseball. So we still got a long time before the season ends, still got a lot of baseball left to play, but the Orioles are in a position right now where they cannot lose it. They can't lose a series. And I'm sitting here saying, there's still a lot of baseball left to play. Well, that's true, but the Orioles still, halfway through their season has put them in such a bad position. And obviously I can keep coming on here and saying that I believe that they can get out of this deficit. I believe that they can potentially make a run for the playoffs in the second half of the season, which I think this team has the talent to do. But when they go out there and have a great game like they did yesterday and win a thrilling, crazy game in extra innings, and then they go out there today and do absolutely nothing, like literally nothing. The pitching was horrible. The offense was horrible. Nothing really was going on at all. We started Brandon Young against Jacob deGrom. deGrom did his thing. He gave up 2 runs, which was even surprising because the last time we played deGrom last week, he went like 7 perfect innings against us. So, again, it was just a very rough game for the Orioles, like a lot of games have been this season. And, they really just collapsed at the end of the game. Like in the last 3 innings, the Rangers were just kind of piling on the runs. The Orioles were down in this game early, and then the Rangers, the Orioles kind of made it close, and then the Rangers just kind of piled on runs. So the Rangers went up 3-0 early, then the Orioles tied it, or not tied it, they made it 3-2, and then the Rangers made it 5-2, and then 7-2, and then 8-2, and then 10-2, and then here we are. That was the end of the game. But yeah, let's just get right into this game. So going over this Orioles and Rangers game, obviously the Orioles lose this game 10-2 to the Texas Rangers. The Orioles are now sitting at 37-48 on the season, 11 games now below 500. And again, if you look at it, the Orioles offense didn't really do much of anything. 7 total hits on the day, 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position, 5 guys left on base. I mean, we didn't really have any base runners. Didn't really do much of anything on offense at all. Obviously, I know we were facing Jacob deGrom. deGrom went 6 innings, only gave up 2 hits. But the Rangers in this game only had to use 2 pitchers in this entire game. They used deGrom and they used Latz. And they used 2 pitchers the whole game. deGrom went 6, Latz went 3, which is just crazy. But again, the Rangers now have the bullpen advantage, the complete bullpen advantage heading into tomorrow. And again, that's what happens when deGrom pitches. He's going to go out there and do amazing, and he's going to go out there and really save your bullpen, pretty much all the time. But unfortunately, the Orioles in this game had to use 4 pitchers. We did have to use Luis Vazquez for like the 3rd time in the past week. We're using our, backup shortstop as a pitcher. But shout out to him, man. He has not given up a single run in any of his time being, out there for the Orioles. In any of his innings pitched, I think he has 4 innings pitched now this season, and he hasn't given up a single run. So shout out to him. He just might be the best position player pitcher in baseball. I mean, obviously Shohei Ohtani, but Luis Vazquez, man, this guy might have a career in pitching later on down the line in his career. Maybe he gives up shortstop, maybe he becomes a pitcher, because I don't know what's going on with him, but hasn't given up a single run in 4 innings for the Orioles. So shout out to him. Honestly, he's doing a lot better than a lot of Orioles pitchers this season. But going over this offense, again, 7 total hits on the day, 2 total runs scored. Jackson Holliday in this game, not a great game from him. He goes 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. Ramon Laureano goes 0 for 4. Gunnar Henderson goes 1 for 4. He scores a run. Ryan O'Hearn goes 1 for 3. Gary Sanchez is definitely the player of the game in this game in general. I will say, though, Gary Sanchez's defense has been pretty awful. Lots of, miscues, whether it's trying to catch someone stealing or the throw to second, or even, holding onto the ball when someone's throwing at home and trying to get someone out at home. He has made a lot of defensive mistakes this season, but offensively he's been the Orioles' hottest hitter over the last almost month now. But Gary Sanchez, he stays hot in this game. He goes 1 for 3 with a 2-run homer. He was responsible for both of the Orioles' runs scored in this game. Then Jacob Stallings came in as a pinch hitter. He was the catcher that we called up from putting Trump on IL. Obviously, we are still holding out on Basseo. I did say that in yesterday's episode where I talked about how obviously everyone wants to see Samuel Basseo, but he is still young, and it would mess up the contract for eventually whenever we do call him up. Calling him up this early would mess up the contract going in the future. And it's a smart decision to not call him up, but it kind of just leaves a hole at that, position if Gary Sanchez is not catching or is not, playing that day. But then Colton Cowser goes 1 for 3. Kobe Mayo came in as a pinch hitter. He didn't get a hit. Ramon Urias is the only Oriole with multi-hits in this game. He goes 2 for 4. Shout out to Ramon. Cedric Mullins goes 1 for 3. And then Dylan Carlson goes 0 for 3. So, again, not a lot of, active, for the Orioles. Not really anything going on for the Orioles offense. Only one player with multiple hits. 2-run homer was responsible for both of the Orioles' runs. And then obviously the pitching gave up 10 runs in this game, and it was far from winnable. But going over the pitching real quick, Brandon Young did get the start. Unfortunately, he did get the loss again. He is now 0-3, and I think his 3 starts that he's had this season as an Oriole. Obviously, we had to call Brandon Young up because of the Zach Eflin injury, and also because we had to move Charlie Morton's start back 3 days to Friday. So Charlie Morton was actually supposed to start today, but we had to move him back because of some tendonitis in his thumb. So now we had to call up Brandon Young to kind of fill that void, because obviously we have an open spot because Zach Eflin's on IL right now. But Brandon Young comes out here, doesn't have the worst game of all time. He goes, he gets through 4 innings, gives up 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, and has 4 strikeouts in the process. Again, 6 hits, 2 walks, 3 runs in 4 innings. It's not good, but it's not like the end-all, be-all, worst thing ever. This game was still, pretty winnable even after Brandon Young's start. Again, only 3 runs, given up in 4 innings. That's not the worst thing in the world. What really kind of nailed the coffin on this game was Matt Bowman, who went 1.2 innings, gave up 6 hits, 4 runs, a walk, and a homer as well. A 50 pitch count across 1.2 innings for Matt Bowman. He completely blew this game, out of the water for the Orioles to even come back from. Again, 50 pitches through 1.2 innings is crazy. 6 hits, a walk, and 4 runs is also crazy. And then blew it. He came into the game, didn't give up a run. Gregory Soto gave up 3 runs, which even, furthermore nailed the coffin shut for the Orioles comeback. And then obviously Luis Vazquez, the position player, goes out there, has 1 pitch, but it was enough to get the out. So again, the Orioles pitching was horrible. Gregory Soto, Matt Bowman, and Brandon Young, all of those guys were not really great for the Orioles. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like, what did you expect, When you went out there and started Brandon Young, you knew it was Brandon Young versus Jacob deGrom. Obviously, Brandon Young is a minor league pitcher. deGrom is one of the greatest pitchers of our generation. So obviously the Rangers had a huge advantage in this game. And it came true for them. They took advantage of it, and they went out here and absolutely killed us. They absolutely killed us in this game. Again, we lost by 8 runs. Not really close at all. A very disastrous, embarrassing performance for the Orioles. I would have liked to see the offense maybe fight a little bit more in the middle parts of the game. Whenever the Rangers started scoring, I would like to see the Orioles maybe start scoring, but they really just couldn't get on base today. This has happened a lot of times this year where they have a really good game and then go out there and absolutely flop the next game, and then they'll probably lose tomorrow in some really close, valiant effort. But it still is a series loss at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if you win by 18 runs. It doesn't matter if you, win by 1 run. A win is a win at the end of the day. It's going to count for the same thing. It's kind of like what I was talking about whenever the Orioles played the other day against Tampa and won that game 22-8. It doesn't matter that we put up 22 runs because that's 1 win at the end of the day. Just because we put up 22 runs doesn't mean that we're going to get 3 wins added to our record. They just have to go out there at this point and just win games. It doesn't have to be flashy. They just have to win. At the end of the day, this Orioles team is in no position to lose a series, and as the days go on, it gets even more crucial and more important to not be able to lose a series for this Orioles team, just because of the position that they put themselves in early on. And that's why every single game matters in baseball, because you never know, if you go on a little bit of a bad stretch early on, you could think that you could, come back from it. But then if you don't, then you're, screwed when it comes to July time, where things really start to get picking up. July is one of the most important months in baseball. Obviously, there's the All-Star break, which you like to, end off the season or end off the half season well going into All-Star break. And then also at the end of the month, it is the trade deadline. So teams start to evaluate whether they want to be buyers, sellers, or stay put with where they're at. This Orioles team right now is, as it stands right now, July 1st, 2025, this Orioles team are sellers. They are 100% sellers. It's probably going to be a heavy sale because there's going to be a lot of players on this Orioles team that people are going to be interested in getting. The one that comes to mind, obviously, is Ryan O'Hearn. Potentially even Ramon Laureano. He's having a spectacular season as well, and he's only on a 1-year deal too. So it's going to be a very sad and interesting trade deadline for the Orioles if they don't get their act together within the next few weeks. But we'll see what happens with that moving forward. And then going over to tomorrow's game, it is the rubber match game. If the Orioles win, they win the series. If they lose the series. And it should be a pretty good game. The Orioles are unfortunately facing one of the better pitchers in baseball this season. Nathan Eovaldi is having a spectacular year for the Orioles. And speaking of Nathan Eovaldi, he was a player who was on, Mike Elias and the Orioles monitor a lot throughout this offseason. There was a lot of people thinking that Nathan Eovaldi could potentially be someone that the Orioles go and pick up. But unfortunately, as a lot of these signings have happened, Nathan Eovaldi is not an Oriole. Instead, Tomoyuki Sagano is an Oriole, and where he's actually going to be playing tomorrow for the Orioles. So tomorrow it's going to be Sagano versus Eovaldi. Should be a good game. Obviously, this is the Orioles' best starting pitcher versus the Rangers. Him and DeGrom are the two best starting pitchers for the Rangers. So it's going to be a good game. Hopefully, it's probably going to be a low-scoring affair. Hopefully not for the Orioles side. Hopefully they can get to Eovaldi early. Hopefully they can start hammering those pitches and doing well. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. Two of the best for both teams. Arguably the Orioles' best pitcher against arguably the Rangers' best pitcher as well. Nathan Eovaldi has been spectacular this year. A 1.87 ERA, that's among the best in baseball. Sagano with a 4.06 ERA. Sagano's had a few bad starts in a row now. Hopefully he can have a big bounce back game and get the win tomorrow. But thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow up on Spotify, make sure to like the video on YouTube as well. And if you want more updates, make sure to click the link in the bio of whatever platform you're listening on. Make sure to follow the Twitter, make sure to follow the Instagram. I'm posting updates on my Instagram every single day about when episodes release, and I'm also live tweeting games on Twitter. So if you want to keep up with that, see my live reactions to stuff, you can follow up on there as well. I appreciate all the support you guys have given me. This is episode 84. 100 episodes will be coming soon. It's crazy that this has been happening, and I'm having a ton of fun talking about this team. Obviously, Ravens content coming soon as well. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll have an episode up sometime tomorrow talking about Game 3 of the series. Hopefully, the Orioles can get a series win, and I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great sales night, and I'll see you later. Peace out.